My name is Ray Lutz, that's R-A-Y-L-U-T-Z, and I'm with Citizens Oversight. You can see the sign right here. This is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. And in this case, we're working on election integrity. We're working on the elections counting process, how we actually count our votes here in San Diego County and other counties. Today at 3 o'clock we had a hearing here in the San Diego Superior Court regarding a violation that our Registrar of Voters, we detected this violation during the process of the vote count this year, and in that they're not following the elections law. They have decided that they would not include in the audit about 37 or 40% of the ballots. So as citizens, we're unable to verify that our vote is being counted correctly. We're unable to verify that there's no malfeasance going on because 40% is a very big chunk of the vote. I have this little picture here. It's sort of hard to see maybe, but all I want you to notice is there's 4 distinct batches of ballots that they process. The first batch is processed from the precinct when you come in and vote yourself. These are the polls ballots, and that's about 195,000 ballots in San Diego. Those come in their own boxes and they're counted by precinct. And actually, they're handled pretty well. We know that there hasn't been much done to the ballots because they haven't had them very long. This next section are the vote by mail ballots that they processed by the time election night was done. And these are the votes that you see at 8 o'clock in news media. These are the only ones that you hear talk about. Then there's the late process vote by mails and the provisionals. And this amounted to about 285,000 votes this year. None of these are included in the audit. So he's excluding all of these. The law says very clearly that vote by mails have to be included in the audit. And so there really is no way around this. They cannot, the only defense they have is that we don't want to do it because it costs too much. We don't want to comply with the law. We don't want to do what we're supposed to do to honor the elections and honor your vote because it costs too much. We can't get the money. In fact, we're just kind of lazy in this county. We don't want to do it quickly enough. That's what our Registrar of Voters is saying. Yep. By not counting, including these in the 1% manual tally, our audit process that we treasure as citizens, because this is the only way we have to verify that they're not monkeying with the vote. There are other things going on here you may have heard about, but before we get into that, I'd like to introduce the lead attorney in this particular case who can talk about what happened before the judge that we had just now. Please welcome Alan Garassi.
Yay!
Good afternoon. Today we had a hearing on a preliminary injunction request that we're making to ask this judge to, at this very early stage in the lawsuit, to make a decision that we have shown enough evidence to say that we can't prevail on the merits of the case, and to please stop the registrar from certifying the vote until he complies fully with the elections code as Mr. Lutz just outlined for you. It's our position that the county's defense that it costs too much, or we've done it just the way other counties have done it, is not what is required by the law and is not what is required by the citizens of this county and indeed this state. The elections code section that we're utilizing was put in place as a check to make sure some of the things we've been seeing around the country don't happen in California. And with that, we've asked this judge to make an early determination so that we can make this last election meaningful. It's very difficult for a judge sometimes to tell a county official to do something or not do something, and we understand that it is difficult. But we hope this judge will stand by what we've requested and be strong on our issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. I have to say, I think we did a pretty good job. I think Alan did a great job. I saw the other attorney for the county council visibly trembling when he was trying to deliver his remarks. I don't know if that's because he was just a little bit embarrassed that he had to try to defend the county for breaking the law, but that's his job. So you got to expect him to have to come in there, but he's trembling like this saying, I really don't want to do this because I am, in essence, defending somebody who should be treated as a criminal. Now let's think about it. Michael Vu is somebody who was in Cuyahoga County, Ohio in 2004. Michael Vu had two subordinates who admitted and were convicted of tampering with the audit procedure, exactly what we're talking about here today. They were convicted of covering up the huge, basically stealing the election, which we now know occurred in Ohio for the 2004 election. He was then quickly resigned his post and went over here, and within 2 to 4 months was hired in San Diego, despite what I understand were the Board of Supervisors who didn't want that to happen and had notes of admonishment to the county, the chief administrative officer who was making that move. Strange that you can violate the law, have to be retired, have to say, I quit. Actually, you should have been fired, but he says, I quit, and then you're hired right away. You know what that means in my mind is you are being rewarded for doing the evil deed back in Cuyahoga County. Now we have the same character, Michael Vu, violating the law. That is very, very clear. He's not including all of these in our treasurer audit process. The only thing we have as citizens to make sure that our registrar of voters is not completely hacking the election by moving tens of thousands of votes from one candidate to another is this audit process, which he is not following. And he admits that he's not following it. Strangely enough, in this first batch of ballots, it's very hard to manipulate. Bernie Sanders won the election in the 1% manual tally sample by 58 to 41 in the sample precincts. In those same precincts in the next batch, it was the opposite. Clinton won 58 to Sanders 41. I have never seen that happen. I have watched elections for many years. I have never seen such a disparity between people going to the polls and happening to send in their ballots in the same precinct. The same kind of people. They live in a certain area. They're going to kind of vote the same way. They're all Democrats. And you know what happened? This vote may have been tampered with. This is the one that we really even haven't gotten a report yet from them. They originally chose batches, wouldn't give us the report so we could check it, then changed to doing precincts. This whole thing is a mess. This right here is just a nutshell, a vision, a little peekaboo vision into the corruption in this country, in our elections officials, the corruption that they're being told what to do apparently from somewhere. They're working in concert. They're all violating the same law. They had another dozen counties that are also knowingly violating this law. And that was great in the testimony today when the county said, well, the other counties are violating the law, so it's okay for us to do it. Don't you think so, Judge? And our attorney said, well, that doesn't fly too well. Just try that if you're speeding. And say all the other cars were speeding, and so I should get out of my ticket. Don't you think so, Judge? And he'll say, sorry, pal, you have to follow the law. It doesn't matter what other people are doing. So we have somebody here who's using this classic defense, and instead of going along with our suggestions, early in this election process, we told Michael Vu, you know what? You're not following this process very well. Early on, I said, Michael Vu, you're not choosing enough here. Michael Vu, will you meet with me on this? No, I won't meet with you. That's when I had to file the suit. Inside they said, you know what, Lutz has been monitoring these elections for years. He should have filed the suit a long time ago. Well, what kind of defense is that? Oh, this guy is not a good enough citizen. He's not following the election code well enough because he should have filed the suit when he learned about it years ago. And instead, what this guy did, Ray Lutz, he didn't do his citizenry duty. He didn't file the suit early enough. He just let us go along, violating the law for all these years, and we didn't know about it. We finally filed the lawsuit, and now we can make the in fact, we don't want to make the correction now either. It's too much of a rush for us this year. Well, again, that's the kind of defense that I hope this judge does not even pay attention to. It's such a ridiculous notion. That's the kind of arguments that this judge this attorney who was visibly trembling, trying to make his comments, trying to protect Michael Vu, the registrar, was trying to make because he knew all those arguments were bunk. If this judge does not rule in our favor, I don't know what's happening here, really. But let's say he says, I can't do it for some reason. We're going to continue the fight. We're going to continue to make sure that these registrars follow the law. And if they don't like this audit law, if they don't think it's practical, then let's change the law so that the elections can be audited. Let's make it so that the entire process can happen in the amount of time that you have. Instead of saying we're just going to not do it, that's not allowed. Now, look, there's a lot of other things happening there that are troublesome. Whiting out ballots. When does this happen? Do you like the idea of them applying whiteout to ballots? Now, maybe it's okay, but we better have a whole team of people watching those whiteouts applied and making sure it's appropriate. You can't just trust somebody who's a hired hand to do that. There was a whole shredding truck up there at the Registrar of Voters, and apparently have been shredding ballots. Now, we don't know what they were doing, but if you have a shredding truck next to the Registrar of Voters where they're supposed to be protecting the ballots, that raises your eyebrows. That raises your suspicion. It should raise your suspicion unless they say, look, that shredding truck, here's what we're doing, folks. We're not shredding ballots, we're doing this, and we have an oversight to do that. No oversight. We have to wonder what's going on. We have to wonder, okay, what is the shredding truck there for? Do we have proof that it's shredding ballots? Not yet. But fortunately, we have good legal attorneys here working with us, and they said, let's put a stop to disposing of those shredded materials, whatever they may be, from the registrar. I asked for a list of everything the registrar had approved to shred so we could find out if they were shredding ballots and what's going on in there. So let's see here. In a nutshell, what I'm talking about is a clean public audit of the election. We want our elections, our treasured audit procedure, which we have struggled to get. We have struggled to get this audit procedure into place so we can check these elections. We want him to follow it and include these other 40%, 47% of the ballots. 37, excuse me. Around 40% of the ballots are being excluded from the audit. Try that with your auditor. Mr. IRS auditor, take a look at my expenses, but don't look at these 40%. Those are off limits. Just take a look at the 60%, which I prepared so that it looks good. And then I can do whatever I want with the 40%. That'd be great if the IRS would allow you to do that. But no auditor will allow you to do that. No auditor will say you can exclude 40% of your finances from scrutiny. And as citizens, we should not allow our registrar of voters to exclude 40% of the ballots that are in the 1% manual tally. That's absurd. We must have a clean audit. 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 Okay, now I am going to introduce another attorney who is working on another aspect of the disgraceful election that we just witnessed in California. This gentleman is actually from the Bay Area. Please welcome Bill Simpich. Come on up. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'll keep it short. We're looking at nothing less than trying to count every vote. That means the write-ins. We're going to file a suit. In fact, we filed it, but we're going to have to refile it because of a technicality. It's going to address the issue of the write-in votes specifically on the no party preference ballots. And we're going to also include a request for righteous tally of the provisional ballots. These are evidence. These ballots are held for 22 months. And by God, we're going to get a look at them.
We have a primary in East County for the supervisor leader, Ryan Jason.
And at the end of the day, what we want is we don't ever want to see an election in the United States again like this, where people are unable to vote for President of the United States. It's the most outrageous thing you can imagine. It's hard to believe that people aren't waving their arms, holding their head, with their hair on fire. It makes you wonder about the vitality of this country until you visit the 58 counties in California and you see determined citizens, like some of the people here, camped out for 4 weeks, day and night, keeping an eye on those folks, making sure that their efforts are being watched, and that ultimately justice is going to come. Thank you.
You know, he makes a good point. We have set up a system that we have bought into. And the system is that we have these parties and things that regulate stuff for us and tell us who we can and can't vote for. We bought into this system. And now they say when you come to the polls, you can't vote for certain people that you want to vote for. If you're not in that party or this party, we don't have the ballot, so forth. Or we're going to put you in this ballot and process it slowly. So think about it. They keep doing this. The same thing with the nuclear waste up north. Oh, we can't dispose of it rightly because we got to go through so much paperwork. You know, the same kind of thinking that we're putting that on our own thought process when it isn't necessary. We should be able to vote for the president of this country, whoever we want. And if the laws are in place with these parties, we need to get rid of those laws. I'd like to now have there's some eyewitnesses here that have some stories. Is there anyone that would like to say?
My name is Maggie O'Neill. I'm the one of many volunteers who helped run the San Diego Grassroots Bernie Sanders office. We got reports as early as 9 a.m. on Election Day that a Democratic ballot was being wrapped in a provisional envelope. And what happens with provisional envelopes is they take longer to verify. They have to verify the signatures later. So that's a really convenient way to say, oh, hey, we can't include provisional ballots in our 1% manual tally. That's one of the things that Michael Vu said to me a couple days later after Election Day. Michael Vu has also barred our access to watching the ballots be processed and counted. We've also watched the ballot workers of San Diego County whiting out your votes, San Diego. They're whiting out your votes, and they're doing it with impunity. They're doing it right in front of us. They're also not answering any of our questions. That right there, those are 3 huge election code violations. San Diego County will never have free and fair elections as long as Michael Vu is in that office. We need to get rid of Michael Vu.
Yes.
Michael Vu, we're watching you.
My name is Dwana Bain. I'm one of the attorneys that is working with Ms. O'Neill and other observers throughout the state of California. And I would encourage everybody watching today to look into Michael Vu. He came out here in 2007 after being forced to resign from Ohio. Think about who won California in 2008, who won California in 2016. Who was the favored candidate in 2008 and who was the favorite candidate in California in 2016? These are just questions I'm asking. I also encourage you to go on Transparent California, look up how much money Michael Vu makes, and then consider this question that was made in court today about it's too expensive to count all of the votes. I'm summarizing, paraphrasing what was said, something to the effect of this manual tally that Mr. Lutz wants is a little too expensive. And compare that to how much money Mr. Vu makes. Maybe if it's too expensive, maybe Mr. Vu needs a salary cut.
Hello everyone, my name is Alex Pride. I flew in from Minneapolis to help with issues concerning the ballot count. I would just like to add one thing that no one seems to have brought up yet that is very crucial. A lot of the ballots that have come in, everyone assumes that when you vote, when you put that mark on your ballot and you mail it in or you hand it in, that it will be counted. Don't count on it. Please go online, Google vote check, ballot check, and find out the number or the link for your county and find out whether your ballot has been counted or not. Every single person has their number. Find out yours and find out whether or not your ballot has been counted. Please do that.
Yes, she brings up a good point. Our right to vote is being challenged from many avenues, and one of them is pulling people off the voter rolls. One of these is that you may vote, and if you skip an election, you may not be able, you may wind up finding that you're not registered to vote in that election.
Purged.
And because they don't allow you to register on the spot, you're out of it. You can't, your vote is discarded, put out into the shredder truck. I guess that's what the shredder truck is for. All those people that forgot to vote last time because they're pulled off the rolls. Okay, someone else want to vote? Yeah, come on, speak, please.
Hi, my name is Netra Halpern. I'm from Hawaii, but I came here to California because I was so disturbed about what was happening here that I wanted to help the attorneys with the lawsuits. One thing that I wanted to point out is that in the hearing just now, the county council said, well, the Secretary of State said we should do it that way. I just want to remind people that the Secretary of State, Alex Padilla, is a fundraiser for one of the candidates. He is a fundraiser for Hillary Clinton. So that makes one wonder what is his impartiality? Is he an impartial government official or is he partisan? It's just a question to be looked at. Thank you.
Citizens Oversight has also filed a lawsuit against Alex Padilla, the Secretary of State. And our intention in this lawsuit is to get Alex Padilla to create a report. This is one of the things that we're thinking of. Create a report of all these provisionals and all the handling of the ballots so that we can understand exactly what happened to each one of those. They do produce a little bit of a report to just say how many didn't make it through, how many were not registered. We need to really dig into that. So now, I think what's going to happen here, as Alan said, is we're going to be looking forward to some sort of a ruling in the next day or two. I believe that Michael Vu has put the certification on hold, at least from yesterday. It didn't look like he certified yesterday and today, but tomorrow is the deadline. So hopefully the judge will provide a ruling by tomorrow and prevent Michael Vu from certifying the election when he wasn't following the code. Now think about it. Can you certify an election and do it illegally and isn't certified then? How can this guy even do that? He knows that he didn't follow the code. If he's a public official and he knows that, how can he certify it as correct? He shouldn't be able to. It just doesn't work in my mind that a public official should knowingly be able to break the law and certify the election as correct. And yet Michael Vu is doing it. Right. This is outrageous. So we want to clean up this messy situation that we have in San Diego. Michael Vu has turned us into a complete mess. We want our rights kept in terms of this audit procedure. We want to make sure it's done completely and accurately. And in my view, it should be done over because I don't trust anything this guy has done. I want it done from scratch. Okay, I think that's, is there any questions from the media out here?
How many provisional ballots were rejected?
Okay, the question is how many provisional ballots were rejected. I believe the statewide percentage is about 7.9%. At least that's what I saw from LA County, and it's probably indicative of the rest of the state. However, LA County did change their way of handling those provisionals. Much of the state wasn't going to count any of the provisionals that didn't have exactly the right type of ballot in there. So if a nonpartisan voter came in, a no party preference voter came in, and they didn't say crossover ballot if they happened to get a Democratic ballot that had some of the other races. Originally, LA County was not counting those at all. Not counting them at all. They were just saying those are invalid. Well, they changed their tune and they're trying to go back and count those now. Many of the other counties probably did the same thing as LA and decided not to count those. So it is a big question of what we have going here in the state. LA County rejected 7.9. We'll have to compare that with the other counties and see how it compares. Any more questions from media out here? Yes.
Based on how many vote by mail were not counted, would you suggest that people in the future go to their polling place and vote in person to give them a higher probability that their vote is actually going to be counted?
Yes, that's a good question. Let me repeat it. She says, should people choose to go to the precinct, or should they choose, what's safer? Should you vote by mail or should you vote in the precinct? It looks like voting in the precinct is the way to go. Okay, do not vote by mail is my advice. And the reason is this: they can't tamper with these very much because they don't have them for very long. The vote by mail ballots here, they get to start counting these 10 days in advance. This is almost an eternity. So they can fool around with these, and if they know what the precincts are, they can just avoid those precincts and fix the rest, the ones that are being tallied. There's only 1% that they tally. That's 16 out of 1,522 precincts. So there's all these 1,500 precincts that go out here, and they pick only 16. The chances, if you're a fraudster and you're trying to fix the election, even if you just did it randomly, you might be able to just avoid those 16 just by chance. Maybe 50-50 chance. Here's how a fraud would work. Let's say you wanted to fix it so that Hillary Clinton wins and not Bernie Sanders. That's one of the theories. What you would do is you would flip about 10 or 20,000 votes. You'd have to do it across many precincts where it would be noticeable. And so you spread those out to 10 or 20 votes in each precinct. Then you avoid the ones that are being tallied and no one ever sees it. Okay, any more questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll say that the press conference is over. Thank you.